Okay, I just wanted to make a little video here. There's been a lot of videos out about how to get water if, like, the grid is down, or for whatever reason you don't have electricity. I live in the country, as you can see, and on my property here I have 3 different drilled wells. So water for me is not really an issue. There are a lot of drilled wells all over this country that you might could run into if you had to, like, bug out and be on the move or whatever. But to get water out of the ground out of a drilled well is kind of difficult. When I was a kid, my grandparents moved to a farm in the Ozarks, and they had electricity, they had gas in the house and cook stove and everything, but they didn't have any indoor plumbing. So I remember my grandmother, she had to pull water out of a drilled well. There was a dug well on the property, but it wasn't very good, very safe. It was crumbly around. So they used that drilled well, and I still remember her. She had a pulley set up over the top of it, and what she used was a layman's galvanized well bucket, and it holds almost 2 gallons of water. So that's quite a bit of water, and that's pretty heavy. So you really got to have a pulley set up. What I wanted to do was come up with something, a way to get water out of a drilled well that was light and cheap, because the layman buckets are about $100 a piece, and they're nice and they'll last a long time. But there again, to carry it around and everything, I mean, at your homestead or whatever, that's fine. But this here works really well, and basically on the same principle as the layman bucket. It's got a plunger at the bottom. It's got a rod through the middle to release the water. When you pull it back up, it'll sink down into the water, fill up, and come back up, and you can swing it over your bucket or whatever, and pull up on the rod, and it'll let the water go out. This was my first one. It works great. I've come up with a little bit different design. I kind of overbuilt it a little bit, put a threaded rod through it and different things. And I've thought about it some more, and I think I've come up with a little bit simpler way to put it together. So that's what I wanted to show you today, is how to build one of these. And the main thing about it is it's cheap. It doesn't cost very much, just a few dollars to build this. I'm building a lot of it out of scrap, some stuff from the Dollar Tree, just things I had laying around. So I'll start putting it together, and I'll show you what I've come up with. Okay, first I'll go over some of the stuff that I used to build this well bucket. This is just 4-inch like sewer pipe or water pipe. It's not used. I just had a scrap around here. I cut it to 22 inches, and the first one I built was 26, and when it's full of water, it's kind of heavy. So I cut this one down to 22, 24. It would be a really good length for most people to be able to pull it up out of the well. So you just cut it with a hacksaw. Next thing you're going to need is you're going to have a cap, and you can get these. You can get this. These come. The pipe comes in a 10-foot stick, like at Home Depot or Lowe's. That's enough to do like 5. You can make 5 well buckets. Make you an extra one and a couple more, a few for your buddies or whatever. The caps. This is just a cap. Fits on the end. 4-inch cap, and it of course will be solid when you buy it. Now the hole in here, I had to do some trial and error with that to get the right size of hole. Now I come to find out that about a 2 3/4 inch diameter hole in that cap is just about right. If you go too small with it, it don't want to fill up very fast. It don't want to fill up right, but you don't want to get it way out here around the edge because the stopper that you're going to be using is pretty thin, and you don't want it to pop out the hole under the weight of the water once you start pulling it back up. So about 2 3/4 inch, just kind of center it. I cut this out with a Dremel tool. You can use a jigsaw would probably work really good, or just however you have to do to cut it out. I mean, a lot of this could be put together even without electricity or glue, but you know, make it ahead of time so that you ain't got to worry about it. So anyway, 2 3/4 inch hole there. Another main component of this is just like, I think they call it hardware cloth or rabbit wire, or you can use rabbit wire, just any kind of big mesh wire that's a little bit stiff. It's pretty stiff. Like screen wire off of a window screen, that wouldn't work. It's just too small. But you want something water will go through real easy, but it'll hold up. And this is going to go up into the pipe. Here's just a couple of the stoppers that are going to be in the bottom. This actually is what holds the water. I get this one from the Dollar Tree, and I like it better because it's already got a hole in the little tab on the stopper. For the wire. Now I will take this ring out. I suppose you could leave it in there if you wanted to, but it's just one extra thing to like rust or whatever. So I'll probably take that out. This is one I got on clearance somewhere. It's a little bigger, you see, and you'd have to, even this one I have to cut down a little bit because it says 5 inches, but it's actually about 4 1/4. And it won't fit down in there. You want this plunger to fall down in there pretty easy. You don't want too much slack, but you want it to be able to come up in and out of that cap pretty easy, and inside your pipe, you know. So let me see. I just used some of the tools I use. You know, tape measure, pencil, Sharpies. I found cutting the wire with these EMT shears worked really well. Actually, they work better than the snips. Of course, I got some wire strippers here for the wire I'm going to use. Glue to glue the cap on. That's where I say you don't have to have glue. Glue's probably better, but you could once this cap is on, you could put like some little self-tapper screws, maybe 3 or 4 around that, and hold that cap on, which would actually allow you to take it out. But if they stick through, you gotta make sure your stopper ain't gonna hang up on them. I don't think you'd have a problem if you kept them up fairly close to the rim. So you could do that. I'm just gonna glue it this time. Yeah, I just found an old scrap piece of number 10 house wire in the outside, and I stripped out one piece. I think this will probably, yeah, this will be, should be well we need. If not, I got 2 more strands in that in that gray insulation right there. Now, last thing, but about the most important really is some good stout rope to let it down. You use bigger diameter, you might get away with 550 paracord, but this is like 3/16, 50. It'll get at least 50 foot and carry it with you. That'll be more than strong enough to pull up this much water out of a well. So that's the tools and the supplies that I pretty much everything that I used for this. And so now I'll show you how I put it together. Okay, so one of the first things I do is I want to measure of my wire mesh here, so I know where it's gonna need to be inside the bucket. Okay, so in order to do that, I just kind of mark about where my cap's gonna be. I take my Sharpie mark here, and then I measured 1.25 inches above that, and that's because that's where I want my wire to ride. So my wire will ride in there about like this. Now, this wire piece, I'll talk about that for a second. It don't necessarily have to be a round piece or whatever, but it does need these little ears. Leave these little ears out that you can bend up, because that'll keep it from, you don't want it to get up in there and start shifting around in there. I mean, I ain't got this perfect. It don't have to perfectly cover. It's just got to be able to fit down in there. And then I'm going to run a piece of wire through it to hold it in place. It's got to fit down in there and not move around. And you got to have something to hold it in place. The first bucket I built, it was pretty close, and I was able to get like a screwdriver and some little screws in there to hold it in place. This time here I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to run a piece of wire through it. So you could actually just make a cross, would be fine. It don't have to cover the whole hole. It's good to cover as much of the inside of the pipe. What the idea of it is when it goes down in the well, it'll actually go in like this. The plunger needs to be able to come up off of the bottom of the cap, and as the bucket is sinking into the water, this will flop up, but you don't want it to go very far, just enough to let the water in through the bottom hole. And then when you pull back up on it, this will go down and go into the cap, back into the cap, and plug up the hole. And this is going to be attached through this wire mesh. And the reason for this wire mesh is two reasons. One, it's going to keep your release wire kind of in the middle. Like, again, it ain't got to be perfect, but it keeps the stopper from going up too far, but it also keeps your wire kind of in the middle of your pipe. So anyway, let me see. You gotta, back to the stopper, you gotta have this where it'll fit down in, where it'll fit in your pipe good. As you can see here, this is just too big out of the package, so I gotta trim this down. I just do that with my EMT shears, and this has ribs on it, which is pretty good. I'm just gonna go to the inside of that first rib and trim this thing tight to that inside of that rib right there. Like I say, it ain't gotta be pretty, it ain't gotta be perfect. Just want it down enough where it'll work. Alright, so now see that ain't got a whole lot of slack, it's just about right. That'll flop down, and it'll also go down into here, and it covers that hole with plenty. See, it won't punch through. That's what we want. I'll probably leave that ring on there. It'll probably last a long time with that, and it ain't really holding no weight, so I'll leave that on there. Let me see here. Now, what I'm going to do now is put the ears down so that it's flat. Here, I want to put this hardware cloth in here. I've already drilled a couple little holes. I got me a piece of this wire, and I stripped the insulation off of it so it'll go through here easy. You wouldn't absolutely have to do that, but I got me a drill bit out of my kit here. It's just about right. Like I say, you can do this with very little tools. You could take a nail and heat it up and just melt you a hole through there to put this wire and stuff. It ain't got to be fancy. If you was off grid, you didn't have, like I say, the power grid's down or whatever, you could still make this just with just a few hand tools. So anyway, so I'm just gonna turn that over, and I'm gonna try to slide that down in there if I can. I might have to get my pliers or something. I'm gonna shove that down. I'm gonna line it up with them holes. And what I wanted this to do, let me show you, because you can't really see down here what I'm doing. I want this wire to run right in here like this. Through this right here. And then I'm going to bend the ends of this wire over and trim it up on the outside of the pipe. And that, even if it moves a little bit, it won't go anywhere. So let me slide that down in there. You can bend these ears out to where you got a little bit of tension, a little bit of friction there on the sides. And kind of what you want anyway, really. So I'm going to pull this down, get my holes lined up. Stick this through here. Let's see. Get down in here. Get down a little bit further. Okay. Through one side. Turn around here and then run it out. It's just about finger length down in there, so it's okay. There we go. Then just push that down and kind of, actually it needs to go a little further down. There we go. Just make it level. Alright, there we go. Now, you see there it is. And you can see, I don't know if you can zoom in on that, you can see down in the hole what it looks like. Okay, great. So that'll let that stopper right up in there. It's got a little space for it to float around in there once you drop it down in that water. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bend one of these over and just kind of 90-degree it so it sits kind of flat, and don't take much. And the thing about this pipe is thin enough that you can kind of squeeze it a little and give it a bend like that, and it makes it good and tight. And then we can just trim that excess off up close, because it ain't going to take much for it to stay in there. Like that. So see, that's what you want, because, and the reason I say this, let me take a little something here, tap that over a little bit, and you don't want nothing sticking out that's going to catch on the hole while you're dropping it down and pulling it out. You don't want anything sticking out here very far. A lot of your pipe casings for drilled wells are 6 inches. Mine out here is kind of rare on this property because it's a 5-inch, and I know that this will fit down in a 5-inch. And there again, if you're somewhere where you know that you're going to have your well is smaller than that, a 3-inch pipe or casing or whatever, just get you a smaller pipe. You can do whatever. You can even use the thick wall 4-inch if you want, which is the Schedule 40 water pipe. It don't matter. It's just heavier. That's the only difference is this is good and light when it's done. So anyway, so now what we're going to do, we're going to run our wire down the middle, and what this is this is the stopper release wire. And I'm just going to leave the insulation on it because I ain't stripping all that insulation off. I'll strip it down here on the end a little bit where it's going through the. And so this here will fit right through here. Go ahead and bend it up a little bit. And that right there. Hook it on there. Pinch that over. Try to get a little bit of a bend on it if I can. If not, I think it'll be fine. Bend that around. Trim it off. Tell you what, this don't take much, so I ain't gonna worry too much about it. I'll just trim it off right there. Pinch up good. And then we'll straighten it where it's kind of pulling straight. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to run that down through the middle best I can. It don't matter. There's like four squares in the middle. It don't matter which one you use. It'd be close enough. So you see how that flapper's down in there, and it'll go just like that right there. Okay. So now you got keep plenty of excess hanging out the end here, and we'll take care of that here in a little bit. So now I suppose we're ready. We'll test fit this. I'll slide this on here like this, and you can see it'll stop up. Just stop up the bottom like that. When all the way to when it's full of water and the water weight goes on it, it'll plug itself off. And then when you get it up and get it over your 5-gallon bucket or whatever you're pulling, you just pull it up like that, and all the water will fall out the bottom. Same way as the galvanized one. Yep, that looks pretty good. So, okay. Now I'm gonna put a bail on here, something to tie the rope to, and we'll come up like that. I put 2 holes. I come down 1.25 inches here to put my holes for my wire. You don't want to get it up too close because the weight, that's not real strong plastic. So you give yourself plenty of plastic. I mean, you go 1.5 inches if you wanted. I feel probably 1.25 inches is fine. And we're just going to make just a A-shaped piece of wire right there, and we're just going to let this float. We're going to put a loop in here, and I'll show you that in just a second. I got to get some more wire pulled out of my scrap wire here because I don't have all that I need. So in just a minute I'll show you that. Okay, so I have assembled the top, put the bail on, ran the wire through, and I even got a little fancy on it. You wouldn't have to do this necessarily, but I curled a piece of wire here just to kind of keep the plunger rod, the stopper rod here in the middle. So there we go. And your rope will attach right here. And thing is, let's see, if you put one of these in here, you don't want it too tight. You want to leave it a little bit loose. Got a little play in there because it might want to turn and bind up when you're trying to pull it up. And this way here, it just stays loose. So other than that, pretty simple. Put a couple good wraps on here because this is holding all your weight, pulling all your weight right here. So now the only thing really left to do is glue this bottom on. This bottom cap. So you want to shove that stopper on up in there so you don't get no glue on it. Don't want no glue on that. So down here, and I got this is some of the blue wet set PVC cement. You can use the wide. It really don't matter as long as it's for PVC. And this just happened to be what I have here. This is blue. And don't take a whole lot. You just go around the inside here with a dauber like that. And then I get just a touch more. That sets pretty quick, so if you've never used it before, you kind of got to get on with it. You want to put it on both sides. And you just slap that on there and give it a little bit of a twist. And that thing is there. And we'll let's leave it on its side so that plunger will stay up a little bit. Let it set. Always put the cap back on your glue because that stuff will dry out and thicken up, and it'll be a mess. If you don't, you won't be able to get very much use out of it. So, once it's dry, sets up good, this will be ready to go, ready to test out in the well. Now, one thing about it here, you can adjust this. Kind of hard to know right at first just how long to make your plunger rod here, but you can always unwrap it and shorten it if it needs to be. Like I say, I just got a good rope there, and tie that right here, and we'll drop it down in the well, and we'll see how she does. Okay, I'm here at a drilled well that's on my property, This well has a 6-inch casing, so there's plenty of room. You know, this 4-inch pipe will fit down in it real easy. Got just any rope that's strong enough to hold, you know, say 5 or 6 pounds. You know, you can probably use 550 paracord or would probably work. This is just maybe some 1/4 inch nylon rope, but just got her tied on there, and we're going to drop it down in there and see if we can get a bucket of water. You just ease her down, and I can see the water down in there. I'm thinking it's probably about 25 or 30 feet down, and you can hear it when it hits the water. Okay, I just hit water, and then give it about 2 or 3 foot of slack, and you'll watch it, and that thing will sink, and see it tighten up just like that. You know it's sunk, and then you pull it back up, and it feels heavy. So I know I got water in it. If it don't feel heavy, then something happened with your little flapper, and it didn't close. So you see right there. Come here and look at this. I got a almost full thing of water here, and it'll leak a little bit. That's no big deal. Just ease up on that, and there it empties right out in there. Okay, and that's about probably a little over 1/2 gallon of water. I'm just guessing. You might have a little trash down there. Just clean the trash out, but you can filter that water. You know, no big deal. I'm gonna drop it down in there again, see if we can get another bucket. Hit water right there, drop it down a couple foot or so, and watch it strain tighten up. See, it tightened up right there? So I know it's sunk, and you just kind of pull it up. It feels heavy again. Got another bucket full of water. And that's about all you want to pull up. Time you pull up, you know, 10 or 12 buckets of that, you'd be tired. So you just don't jerk on it too hard, just ease it up, and just let it all out, just like that right there. Now that 5-gallon bucket's nearly half full with just 2 buckets. And that's with a 22-inch bucket. You could go 24, get a little bit more water. But that's a good size to bail, you know, and it won't wear you out too bad. So, anyway, that's how it works. Real simple and easy. And the thing is not counting the rope, but just in the bucket itself, probably got less than $5 in it. This pipe comes in generally 10-foot sticks, so you could make 5 2-foot buckets out of 1 stick of material. You're going to probably have to buy a whole stick anyway. I guess some places sell it by the foot, but usually Home Depot or Lowe's, you got to buy a 10-foot stick anyway. Get you 5 caps, and just put them together. Just any old house wire or coat hangers. You could use coat hanger material to make all this. This is just what I had laying around. Man, it's just easy. And there ain't no reason why you couldn't make one of these and be able to get water out of an open well like this.
Okay.
I just want to make a little disclaimer. I in no way advocate or telling anybody to go on somebody else's property and use their well. But if, you know, the world gets to be in a bad situation, which looks like we might be headed that way, you never know what you're going to encounter and what you're going to have to face. We never thought we'd had to face what we've faced so far this year in 2020. But this could definitely save your life, but don't be going on other people's property and trying it out, testing it out. You know, get their permission if they'll let you. You know, somebody who's got an open well that'll let you test your bucket out. I got to thinking about it, and another thing I thought a man might do there again, only in a situation of a raw situation, a Walking Dead situation, a 1 second after situation where the world has just fell to pieces and things don't really matter anymore. Laws don't really matter, but that you might can make a smaller one of these, maybe out of 3-inch pipe, and get gasoline out of a gas tank, like at a filling station or something. There again, don't be doing that. I don't advocate that, but it's like say, when things are really bad and the rule of law is no longer in effect, well then it just might be, it could be an option. Absolutely don't go out and do that by no means. But this is a pretty easy project. I put this together. You can put this together in less than an hour, really. And so once you gather your materials. So I hope you like the video. I want you to share it around with folks, because I want folks to know about it, that they can get their water out of the well if they have to with one of these, and do it real cheap. If you have any questions, you can send me a comment or whatever, and I'll try to answer it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll make some more soon. Alright then, y'all take care.